This is Duke University.
I run two businesses at Waste Management. One is the recycling business, which is about a $1.5 billion in revenue business. We're responsible for the processing and the sale of the recyclables that are collected from homes and commercial enterprises around the country. It's a business that has probably been an important part of Waste Management for maybe the last 10 years or so, but we've grown significantly during that time period. Today, we will process about 6 million tons of material, and we will sell another 4 to 5 million tons of material. It's material that doesn't go through processing. It's clean. It comes from a printer, for example, and goes directly to a mill, but we manage that. It's a challenging business driven by fluctuations in commodity markets, by changes in operating costs, by changes in the U.S. pulp and paper industry and the paper making industry. Vast majority of what we produce is fiber in one form or another, but we also handle aluminum and metals and plastics. The second part of my job is what we call the Organic Growth Group, but in effect it's Waste Management's corporate venturing group. So we make investments in early stage technology companies. We nurture those investments. We have a separate group within that larger group that is responsible for commercializing those technologies. It is what it is. We're equity investors along with others, typically other venture capitalists or other strategics in those companies. One of Waste Management's three pillars is to extract value from the material that we manage. The others being to know our customers as well as we can and to innovate and optimize our business practices. So we see the waste stream as a potential source of value. There is a lot of material in there that could be either processed in one form or separated from the stream that it's in today that would allow us to extract value from it, whether that be in the form of electricity or transportation fuels, or other recyclables. So for us, it's a way of taking something which today has as little or no value and creating value from it. There have been a lot of changes in the world of waste management and of recycling in the United States. Over the last 10 years, but probably more intensely since 2008, 2009, since the downturn in the economy, where a lot of companies started looking at their practices. Walmart is probably the best example of a company that said, we're not going to recycle because we want to be environmentally conscious, not that they're not, but because they want to save money, that they want to be able to do the right thing for their shareholders. And so and Walmart in particular has been able to ripple their desires through their own supply chains. Most other companies don't have that kind of weight, but there are other companies where they're looking at what they're doing, they're adopting lean management, lean operations practices. All of that is designed to remove waste of whatever form that is from their operations. And so you see lightweighting of packages, you see using renewable materials in what they're doing, all in an effort to reduce cost and ultimately to reduce waste. There are a number of technologies that we have invested in and that we are looking at with the hopes that they will become commercially viable. A couple of the ones that deal with material that we collect and process today as solid waste. One is gasification, where we take sorted solid waste, sort it to get rid of the inerts and the organics out of it, put it into a gasifier, convert it into synthesis gas, syngas. That syngas is then transformed to methanol and then to ethanol. It could be transformed to other materials, but given the regulatory environment that exists today, ethanol is highly subsidized and provides a good economic return. That's one business. Another business, so that uses the full stream of solid waste. There's another business that we've invested in which uses a technology called pyrolysis, where we're only looking at plastics. And these aren't plastics that otherwise would have been recycled. These are plastics that otherwise would have wound up in a landfill. And they go through a process that where heat in a very low oxygen environment gasifies those plastics, and then that gas is then combined with water and converted into a synthetic crude oil. And that crude oil would then go directly to a refinery and introduced into the refinery like any other crude, and then cracked into whatever petroleum products the refinery was working on that day. So those are two of the technologies that we've invested a lot of money in. A third one is involved with food waste, where we have created a process to take food waste, clean food waste, typically commercial material, not residential material. We create a slurry, which is sort of your worst nightmare of a food waste milkshake. Now this material, because it is undigested, is very high energy content. And we take this material, this slurry, and we introduce it into the anaerobic digesters, typically that wastewater treatment plants have that are underutilized. This material goes in and is added to the other materials that are going to be anaerobically digested, and it is a real jump start to the energy making process, and then it allows us to create more electrical power through that process. I think there's a world of opportunity out there. I think the whole idea of looking at sustainability in the true sense, not the environmentally only sense of the term, is relatively untapped, and we're just starting there. So anything that allows you to think about how do I make whatever it is that this company makes better, more sustainable in the true sense. The biggest challenge that I see for companies and for people is that they don't link the economics to the environmentalism. And if we don't have both, then we don't have anything that's sustainable. Right? You may have a better answer, but if it isn't economically viable, it will never be a better answer. And so having bright minds focused on answers that aren't just good for the environment, but make long-term economic sense is where I'd like to see people putting their time and effort.